Hello English learners, welcome to my video today. One of the things I love about languages are the way that they kind of interconnect and they borrow from each other and the way that they evolve over time as well. So looking back at the past, you can see how the language changes and how this reflects history as well. And one thing I'm really fascinated by are loan words. To loan means to give someone something and expect to have it returned to you one day. And it's not exactly the case here because it's more like stealing, right? But a loan word, linguistically, means a word that's taken from one language and used in another language. And now, very often these are kind of connected to food or activities that only exist in one culture, such as karate or judo. These are Japanese loan words. But sometimes there are other ones that have links to history and things like that, and I find them so fascinating. So today I'm going to share 7 loan words and phrases that come from Chinese to English. I think some of these phrases might be new for you as well if you're learning English. So hopefully it's going to be useful. We're going to learn some new words and hopefully a little bit of the background behind these words as well. So to begin with, I want to start with some phrases. And I didn't actually know these were from Chinese until a couple years ago. It was, recent news for me. The first one is long time no see. Long time no see. This is a really common English phrase that we can say when we're seeing a friend after we haven't seen them for quite some time. Oh, wow, long time no see. Good to see you. Wow, it's been so long. What have you been doing? Long time no see. So I've always thought this phrase sounded a bit strange, right? It's not exactly grammatically correct. Long time no see. If we say it correctly, it might be, it's been a long time since I last saw you. That would be like the good way. But then I realized this phrase comes from Chinese. And although people are not exactly certain how it was loaned and why it happened, people think it may have come from Mandarin or Cantonese, but literally in Chinese, you might say, long time no see. I'm learning Chinese as well, but I'm not very good at the moment, so I'm a bit nervous to try and pronounce it. But it would be something like, 好久不见, long time no see. But yeah, please don't judge my Chinese, I'm still learning. Another phrase that I love is no can do. No can do. In the past, I just thought this was kind of a friendly, funny way to say, I cannot help you. But this also comes from Chinese. So basically it just means, I cannot do that. I am unable to do that. And it could be refusing help or refusing, saying I don't have the ability to do that. I might ask you, hey, can you reach the food on the top shelf? No can do. I'm too small. I'm not tall enough to reach it. No can do. Or do you have time to help me this afternoon? No can do. Too busy. Yeah. So this is a really useful casual phrase in English, and it literally comes from Mandarin where they say 不能做, no can do, something like that. So there's another good one you could use. Some loan words are loaned based on their pronunciation. Some of them are loaned based on their meaning. And the next one is an example of meaning. So the words are English, but the meaning comes from Chinese. And this is brainwash. Now, that's one thing I love about the Chinese language is a lot of the meanings of their words are very literal. Like you can guess what brainwash means by the 2 compound words, brainwash. Oh yeah. To brainwash someone in English means to try to force someone to believe a certain way, kind of to indoctrinate someone, right? So you're changing the way they're thinking. Maybe you're getting rid of their beliefs or you're giving them new beliefs. You're kind of forcing them to believe what you want them to believe. So you're kind of washing their brain in a way. And apparently this comes from the Korean War, when prisoners of war would return back to America and they would describe what had happened to them as being brainwashed. So I'll put on the screen here the word brainwash and also the original Chinese, which literally means brainwash. So we could say, for example, you should avoid the media at all costs. They're brainwashing our children. Another English word that's commonly used is gung-ho. Gung-ho. This comes from a Chinese phrase or word meaning like to work together. In English, gung-ho means you're really energetic and enthusiastic about something. So it is an adjective and it can be used kind of like, I'm really gung-ho about this new project. Be a gung-ho person, really energetic, enthusiastic. Then this next word is a little bit more advanced, and this comes from Cantonese, and this is to kowtow. Cantonese word is very similar in pronunciation. This is a verb in English, to kowtow. Literally, it means to knock heads, knock heads. And it's a little bit like to grovel to someone, to put someone above yourself. You know, almost imagine like you're bowing before someone, you're kneeling before them. You know, we could use it like, in my new job, I have to kowtow to my boss. It means I have to kind of do whatever my boss wants. I have to please him as much as I can, kowtow to my boss. One really interesting phrase in English is to lose face. Lose face. No, this does not mean literally having no face, but this comes from a word in Chinese, which is said something like 丢脸. And literally this means to lose face, lose face. And this is used in China, it kind of like when you're humiliated, when something happens to damage your reputation and everyone around you will think less of you. And this is really interesting because I'm not the one to talk about this as a Brit, but there's a kind of a concept, a cultural concept in China of losing face, of, building, having a good reputation and not losing your face. I don't think we have this so much in, like, say, British culture. I don't think people care as much about their reputation. Maybe they do, but that's the impression that I get. But if you do and you don't want to have people think less of you, you can use that phrase. I don't want to do that because if people see me doing it, I will lose face. I will be humiliated. Okay, the last one we can look at is probably one you've heard before. This is the word typhoon. Now, I used to think this came from Japanese because it sounds similar. But actually, apparently, it comes from, I believe, Taiwanese dialect. So this comes from Chinese. Literally, it means Taiwanese wind. Wind from Taiwan, something like that. Typhoon. Yeah, so typhoon is just a big, big storm. And there's not much to talk about here, but what I thought I could mention is it's interesting how the name for one of these big storms will change depending on where you are. So if you're in kind of like the Europe or east of the US area, over this ocean, if the storm is forming here, we call it a hurricane. So if you're in the UK like me, we have hurricanes. If you're in Asia, like China or Japan, then they will have a typhoon. And if you're in the southern hemisphere, like South America, then it would be called a cyclone. So there's a little fact there, knowing how to use the right word. I find that really interesting. So if anyone says we have a typhoon in Europe, they're wrong, because it's probably going to be a hurricane, even though it's the same thing, really. But okay, there we go. There were my 7 words and phrases from Chinese that are now used commonly in English. I hope you found something useful here. If you want to see more of these videos, there are many, many more countries and languages that I could look at. So let me know, leave your requests in the comments. Tell me what language I should look at next, and I'll be happy to do that. Thanks for watching for now, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.